I'm Sahil Dhiman and I'm presenting on symmetries to give you the essence of it. That's why I name it as essence of symmetries. So the contents are what is symmetry, types of symmetries, group, a description of rotations in 2 and 3 dimensions, four-dimensional complex numbers that is quaternions, Lie group representations, elementary particles classification, and then discovery of quarks, and in the end references. So the symmetries, it is the transformation that leaves an observable aspect of a system unchanged, like reflection of a butterfly wing about the line passing through the middle part of it. Similarly, there are symmetries in physical laws also, like Maxwell equations are invariant under Lorentz transformation. And then different types of symmetries are like discrete, continuous, internal, and external. Discrete symmetries are those symmetries which are finite in numbers. So finite number of transformations are under the category of discrete symmetry. Like when we rotate a square, then if we rotate it by 0 degree, 90 degree, 180 degree, 270 degree, get back the same orientation of the sphere. So this transformation, that is rotation, is a discrete symmetry. Uh, and then continuous symmetry. If we take an example of circle, then there are infinite number of angles. And when we rotate it by any angle, then we'll get back the same orientation. So there are infinite number of angles. That's why it lies under the category of continuous symmetries. Now, internal symmetries. These are the symmetries which get manifest through the various processes. So these symmetries are like P symmetry, that is comes from the parity transformation, time reversal. From T symmetry comes from the time reversal, and C symmetry comes from the charge conjugation. Internal symmetry can be global or local. And now external symmetries. These are the symmetries that leaves a system under invariant under space-time transformation. These are like spatial rotation, spatial translation, time translation, or Lorentz transformations. Now we got symmetry is an invariant under a set of transformations. Now all these collections of all these transformations form a group, and the branch of mathematics that deals with these symmetries is called group theory. And under this group theory, a special branch that deals with the continuous symmetries is called Lie theory. Now, features of symmetries in mathematical terms. I'm considering the example of that square. Uh, like there are features of symmetries like there should be an identity element, inverse element, and it should follow closure and associativity property also. So like in example of square, this 0 degree angle is a transformation which is an identity element, and the negative of any transformation angle is an inverse element of that transformation. Similarly, this a rotation by 90 degree followed by 180 degree is same as a rotation by 270 degree. This is like a closure property. Similarly, this associativity. So these are the features of symmetry in mathematical terms. So now the group, so of all those transformations will form a group, and along with a binary operation, because binary operation is required to combine these elements of the group. So for binary operation, like for the rotation, binary operation is like a matrix multiplication, because by matrix we represent any transformation. That's why matrix multiplication is like a binary operation to form the group of rotations. Now abstract definition of a group is like as I said before, like a group is a set G together with a binary operation or defined G that satisfy these axioms like closure, identity element, inverse, and associativity. So this is the abstract definition of a group. Now rotations in a plane, 2D plane. So there are different descriptions to describe rotation in a plane. So first description is like by describing using rotational matrix, and another by using complex numbers. So by description by rotation matrix is like that we can transform a vector. The vector should be transformed like that its length should remains unchanged. So those transformations could be like rotations and reflections in 2 dimensions. This r theta represent rotations, and px and py represent reflections about x and y axis. So these both transformations will transform a vector keeping its length, keeping the length of vector unchanged. So this r theta, px and py along with matrix multiplication, which is a binary operator, so these will satisfy those group axioms which I described in that abstract definition of a group. So this will form a group. And now the conditions, what should be the condition for the length invariant? So like for any general transformation O, this O transpose O equals to 1. This condition must be fulfilled for the length invariant. So this rotational and reflection, both transformation fulfill this condition. Now, so that's why they form a group which we call O2 group. That is, this condition is called orthogonal. That's why this group called O2. But under this O2 group, there is subgroup also that only includes rotation. O2 includes both rotation as well as reflection, but a subgroup which only includes O2 can be constrained by using another property, that is determinant of the transformation must be +1. So this +1 will represent only rotations. So this will form SO2 group. When we apply these both conditions, then this will form SO2. Now we got what is SO2 group. Now rotations with complex numbers. We can also rotate or transform a vector without changing its length with the complex numbers also. As we know, r theta equals to exponential iota theta cos theta plus iota sin theta is a unit complex number. So if we multiply it with any vector, it will transform it without changing its length. So this will also be a transformation, but we can connect it with the previous description, that is with the matrix rotational matrix description, by defining 1 as an identity matrix and I is like 0 minus 1 1 0. So this r theta will be this matrix in that rotational description. And what we got at the end, that this description is exactly same as the description of the previous description. This complex number description is exactly same as that of the previous rotational matrix description. So we got this SO2 is similar, is isomorphism to U1. This complex number description defined this U1 group, and SO2 was defined by the rotational matrix description. So we got these are exactly same. So this is isomorphism. This isomorphism is a mathematical term which means one-to-one map. Now we come to the rotation in 3 dimension. So 3 dimension, we know Rx, Ry, Rz represent the rotation about X, Y, and Z axis, and the conditions like O transpose O equals to identity and determinant of +1 will define SO3 group. Similarly, in 3 dimension, we'll try to find out the second description, that is using the complex number, but we need to complex number in higher dimensions. Then we guess like 2 dimension to 3 dimension, but 3 dimensional complex numbers do not exist. Then we move on to 4 dimensional, and these 4 dimensional complex numbers are known as quaternions. So these quaternions are described as q equals to a1, which is a real number, plus bi plus cj plus dk. This is similar to that 2 dimensional complex number, which was like a plus b iota, but in this we have three complex units. So this must be satisfying q dagger q equals to 1, which is also a condition of the group u2. So this will form a u2 group. Now quaternions, similarly as we do in 2 dimension, we'll try to describe this description using the first description, that was the rotational matrix description, by defining 1 as an identity matrix and also taking matrix form of the I, J, and K. Then we'll get this Q in the form of a matrix form, and then we apply another condition, that is determinant of Q equals to +1. Then this will form SU2 group. That is, these two conditions will form SU2 group, that U dagger U equals to 1 and determinant of U equals to 1. So this will form U2 group. And now as we saw, U1 and SO2 were isomorphism. Now we'll try to get SU2 relation between SU2 and SO3 groups. So this we will get by using by seeing the transformation of any vector. So we are considering any vector and we'll see how quaternions will transform that vector. So this v prime equals to q v q inverse. This is how the vector will transform using the quaternions. So we are considering general unit quaternions like any unit complex number. This will be t equals to cos theta 1 plus sin theta u, and u is a three-dimensional, that is ri plus rj and rk. So we see that when we rotate any vector, like for example v equals to 1 0 0 along z direction, and this rotation is represented by rz theta. This is like a rotational matrix. So this will transform this v vector along along this z direction. So we'll get that v prime equals to cos 2 theta sin 2 theta equals to 0. But this is a rotation by angle 2 theta. So to form it, but we want to rotate it only by angle theta. So what we'll do, we'll define phi equals to 2 theta. Then we will get this t, that is used, that is the quaternions which transform any vector, which comes out to be cos phi by 2 plus sin phi by 2 u. So we saw that there are two different quaternions, means two different quaternions correspond to the same element in SO3 group. That is phi equals to pi and phi equals to 3 pi correspond to the same rotations. So that's why SU2 is a double cover of SO3. So two elements of important result that U1 is isomorphic to SO2 and SU2 is a double cover of SO3. So group which covers the other groups are more fundamental. So like for Lorentz group, we use the double cover of that Lorentz group instead of Lorentz group, because if you use Lorentz group then we will miss important thing, that is spin. So to find out, so we saw how do we find out the double cover of SO3, but this is not the exact method to find the covering group. So the exact method is using the Lie theory and Lie algebra. This is the exact method to find the covering group of any group. So we saw that SO3 and SU2 have the same Lie algebra but different descriptions. So and Lie groups are those group, like I said, Lie theory is the theory which is a branch of mathematics that deals with the continuous symmetries. So these continuous symmetries and this continuous symmetry, so these groups so this group includes only those elements which are related to these continuous symmetry transformations. So we identify Lie group with a geometrical object that is manifold. I'll explain it in next slide. For the SU1 group, we got a condition like a square. There should be a correction. It should be a square plus b square equals to 1. So this is the exact definition condition of a unit circle. So unit circle is like a geometrical thing. So it's a manifold of this U1. Similarly, for SU2, we have a condition for to make that determinant equals to 1, we need to satisfy a square plus b square plus c square plus d square equals to 1. So this is the condition for three sphere. Three sphere is also a sphere in three dimensional, I'll say, and this is a manifold, a geometrical object. So all the Lie groups can be described or can be described using a geometrical object that is manifold, and this is a very important property of a Lie group. And the important thing is that the distinguishable group has to be the property of being simply connected. Simply connected means on that geometrical object there will be a curve, a closed curve, which can be compressed to a point. So on this circle and on this three sphere we can draw a closed curve, and which can be compressed to a point. So these are simply connected groups U1 and SU2. So the simply connected groups can be thought of as a mother of all those groups having the same Lie algebra. So these are the more fundamental groups than the other groups, simply connected groups. And mathematicians call it as a covering group. As we saw, SU2 is a covering group of SO3. And nature agrees with such lines of thoughts. And we describe elementary particles using the representations of the covering group instead of the any group. Like we can't describe the elementary particles using the representations of the Lorentz group, but we need the representation of the covering groups of that Lorentz group. And this representation is a mathematical term. Representation can be defined as a element G of a group and a linear transformation of a vector space. So this is the definition of a transformation. And we classify elementary particles in a group of 8 and 10 particles because SU3 has a 8 dimensional and 10 dimensional representations. And each representation of SU3, this is the 10 dimensional, and each coordinate axis will represent a particle. Similarly, 8 dimensional representation represents this group of 8 particles, but there are no 7 or 11 dimensional representations of SU3. That's why there are no classifications of elementary particles in group of 7 or 11. But Gell-Mann went further, and he said that hadrons are consist of smaller particles like quarks. And the motivation comes from this representation theory. And he said that this SU3 has the two three-dimensional representations also, and this 8 and 10 dimensional representation can be comprises um, can be these are consist of two different three-dimensional representation. That's why hadrons consist of two different types of quarks. And these particles were predicted on the basis of empirical not on empirical data, but on the basis of mathematical symmetric patterns. So this is what I want to say, and these are the references. And thank you.